Good evening. I would like to call to order the school board meeting for September 20th, 2022. Superintendent, if you would introduce the invoker, please.
Well, Mr. Cody Salaji is going to introduce our student, who is Parker Navarro. Mr. Salaji?
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, everybody. My name is Cody Salaji. I'm a teacher at Winter Springs High School, specifically of the Public Service Academy. It's a program of emphasis here in Seminole County. I am beyond excited and delighted to introduce one of my favorite students, and actually one of my star students, Parker Navarro. Parker's been with us for all 4 years of the program. I'm beyond excited that he's here tonight, and he's going to tell you a little bit about all the amazing things happen at Winter Springs High School. So, Parker.
Good evening. My name is Parker Navarro. I'm very excited here to tell you guys a little bit about some of the experiences I've had, especially in the Public Service Academy. I'm a senior. I've been attending Winter Springs High School for 4 years, and all 4 of those years I have been on the varsity football team as well as part of the Public Service Academy. Public service has been a part of my life both ways, being... This is so embarrassing. Sorry. As you could tell, this is a first-time thing for me. Public service has been a part of my life since I was young, both my parents being teachers, so it's kind of carried on for a while. However, I've always had a passion of especially the law portion of public service. It's led me to criminal operations, which where I am now, and thanks to this class, it's really helped me found where I want to be and where I want to go. I've always known that law was something that I've had a passion for, but thanks to this class, it's really solidified my decision in what I'm going to do after high school. This class has also helped, it really opened my eyes to the various things that law has to offer, such learning the ins and outs of it. Another amazing perk of just this class in general is just it helped me find a girlfriend, which was pretty cool. I mean, that's not something you get out of every class, but in all seriousness, it is an amazing program, and I do plan on attending Seminole State College and then going to FSU to continue my career. But personally, my favorite part of the class is how my teacher, he uses his past as a detective and uses it to teach us lessons that are not only fun, but very interesting. I think it's very awesome that we get to learn about some of the things that go on inside of various investigations and such, which is not something I have ever imagined that I'd be learning about in high school, but it truly is an amazing experience. Even though this is my senior year and I will be graduating, I hope that this program impacts other people the way it impacted me. I think that not only have I learned more about just society itself, the ways that things work, it makes my life it's a lot different. The way you look at things it changes it. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my experiences. Have a great night, guys. Thank you. All right, if you all please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you for sharing your story with us. Let the record reflect that all school board members, superintendent, board attorney, and board clerk are present. We have an acknowledgement. We have Katie Murphy from Seminole County Council PTA, so thank you for being here. Superintendent, do you have any agenda modifications?
The addendum for good cause is marked on our electronic agenda by a green flag named addendum item.
Okay. School board members, our roll call for tonight is Ms. Sanchez, Ms. Kraus, Ms. Almond, and then Dr. Calderon, and then myself. Member Sanchez, any agenda modifications?
No modifications, thank you.
Member Kraus?
No modifications, Madam Chair.
Member Almond?
No modifications, Madam Chair.
Member Calderon?
No, Madam Chair.
And I have no modifications as well. So do I have a motion to approve the agenda outline?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Motion carries. Superintendent, we have some presentations and recognitions.
Yes, we'll start with our Veteran of the Month, introduced by Mr. Gaffney.
Good evening. I am Pete Gaffney, the principal at Winter Springs High School. It is my absolute pleasure to bring today to the school board meeting our Seminole County Public School Veteran of the Month, Staff Sergeant Jeff Schaefer from Winter Springs High School. Jeff Schaefer graduated high school in 1983 in lieu of attending college right away. He enlisted in the U.S. Army in 1983 as an M1 tank armored crewman. After serving as a crewman, driver, loader, gunner, and tank commander at Fort Hood, Texas, and in the Federal Republic of Germany, he was assigned as an Army recruiter in Tucson, Arizona. It was here in 1991 that Sergeant Schaefer was promoted meritoriously to Staff Sergeant after becoming the U.S. Army's Recruiter of the Year. It was about this time Sergeant Schaefer started to think about teaching would be a great vocation to consider. After recruiting duty ended, he was stationed in South Korea near the inter-Korean border that ended his term of enlisted after 10 years of service. After returning to the United States, Sergeant Schaefer remained in the Army in active reserves while he and his wife began logistics business together. What started out as a small trucking company grew into a commercial vehicle sales business that did very well. Throughout this time, there was still a calling to get back to the idea of becoming a teacher and a coach. In 2004, he was recalled to active duty to help support Operation Iraqi Freedom as a tank platoon sergeant in the area of Iraq known as the Triangle of Death. Sergeant Schaefer was wounded in August 2005, resulting in medical treatment from the service. It was then, while on the mend, that Sergeant Schaefer decided it was time to enter the world of education. He returned to college and received his degree from UCF. Upon graduating, he began teaching and coaching in Volusia County. After a year, he came to Winter Springs High School in the Social Studies Department. He is or has been teaching U.S. history, world history, economics, introduction to world religions, U.S. government, psychology, and IB psychology for the last 3 years. Sergeant Schaefer has been married 32 years to his bride, who he met at Fort Hood, Texas, as she was a veteran stationed there as well. His wife is a nurse at Advent Health DeLand in the Department of Surgery. They have 2 wonderful children and 3 remarkable grandsons. It is my pleasure to welcome and say thank you to Staff Sergeant Jeff Schaefer of Winter Springs High School.
Board members and Ms. Beam, it's my pleasure to introduce 4 new elementary assistant principals tonight. First up, please welcome Tabasha Frederick. Ms. Frederick is a graduate of Thomas University and National Louis University. She has taught in Seminole County for 20 years, serving as a kindergarten, second grade, and third grade teacher, and as writing and instructional coach. She has also earned the title of Teacher of the Year. As we've heard, she's very well supported tonight by her mother, Betty Frederick, sister Tanya Pringle, niece Elise Pringle, and nephew Dexter Booker, as well as Midway Principal Kathy Lambert, Assistant Principal Olga Wood, and several members of the Midway staff. Congratulations. All right, next we have Adolph Pernall, new assistant principal at Winter Springs Elementary. Pernall has been a proud member of the SCPS family for 15 years. He graduated in 2007 from UCF with a bachelor's degree in elementary education and is a recent graduate from the American College of Education with a master's degree in ed leadership. Mr. Pernall has taught a variety of grades, including second, third, fifth, and physical education. He has also served as a media specialist, technology facilitator, and school administration manager. His family members in attendance are his wife, Rasha Pernall, daughters Sabrina and Sophia, parents Ruth and Adolph Pernall Jr. Congratulations, Adolph. All right, next we have Albert Quiroga, new assistant principal. Mr. Quiroga began his teaching career in Miami-Dade County in 1999, teaching kindergarten and third grade. In 2011, he relocated to Seminole County and taught third and fourth grade and was a school administration manager at Altamont Elementary. He writes that he is honored to serve as the new assistant principal at Walker Elementary. Family members in attendance are, and we've heard some of them, his wife, Amy Quiroga, daughters Megan and Mia Quiroga, and there's a daughter online watching at college, that would be Melody Quiroga, and several members of the Walker staff. All right, last but not least is Karen Wells, new assistant principal at Wilson Elementary. Mrs. Wells graduated from St. Leo College and then started her career in education in 1998 at Spring Lake Elementary, teaching third grade. She received her master's degree from UCF in 2004 and has since taught fourth grade, worked as a reading intervention teacher, an instructional coach, and an educational technology facilitator. She then became the school administration manager in 2018 at Evans Elementary. She graduated from UCF with her specialist degree in ed leadership in 2021 and is very excited to be the new assistant principal at Wilson Elementary. Family members in attendance tonight are her husband, Robert Wells, daughters Julia, Ashley, and Lillian, mom and dad, William and Roberta Weaver, mother and father-in-law, Kenneth and Maria Wells. Congratulations, Karen.
Good evening, school board members and Superintendent Beeman. It is with great excitement that I introduce 4 new assistant principals to the middle school leadership team. First, we have Ms. Rebecca Rukowski from Millennium Middle School. Rukowski's 17th year in education, where she has held the following positions at various levels. She was a teacher, MTSS coach, learning resource specialist, testing coordinator, dean, and assistant principal. Her experiences have been in middle school, high school, and post-secondary institutions. She received her bachelor's degree in health science from Lock Haven University, her teaching certification from Pennsylvania State University, and her master's degree in educational leadership from the University of Central Florida. Her family members joining her tonight is her husband, Ray Rakowski, and her children, Jackson, Ethan, and Charlotte. Next, we have Jennifer Curson from Sanford Middle School. Ms. Curson has taught civics at Sanford Middle School for the past decade and has served as a school administration manager. During her time, she built a national award-winning constitutional debate team along with a nationally recognized curriculum in civics education. She received a bachelor's degree in social science education from the Florida State University and earned her master's degree in educational leadership from the University of Central Florida. Joining her this evening is her mother, Janine Curson, her father, Jeff Curson, and her brother, Chris Curson. Also from Sanford Middle School, Mr. Donald Taunton. Mr. Taunton started his career in education as a middle school social studies teacher in Orlando, Florida. He left the classroom to serve in roles including testing coordinator and college and career counselor. Prior to coming to Seminole County Public Schools, he was an assistant principal of instruction in Orange County Public Schools. He earned an associate's in arts degree from Valencia College, a bachelor's degree from the University of Central Florida, and a master's degree in education from the American College of Education. He looks forward to continuing his journey as an emerging leader in education. Next, we have Nicole Hernandez-Craig, assistant principal at South Seminole Academy. Ms. Hernandez-Craig is entering her 20th year in education, is thrilled not only to be joining South Seminole Academy, but Seminole County Public Schools. She has had the opportunity to teach English language arts and reading. She has also served in a variety of resource roles, including instructional coach, MTSS coach, testing coordinator, and literacy coach. She attended the University of South Florida for undergraduate studies and the University of Central Florida for graduate school. Ms. Hernandez-Craig is excited for the journey she will be taking this year with the student, staff, and community at South Seminole Academy. Joining her tonight is her husband, Daniel Craig, her son, Christopher Craig, and her son, Logan Craig, and the loud South Seminole Academy.
Board members and Superintendent Beeman, we have one more administrative introduction tonight. I am very privileged to introduce our new Chief Technology Officer, Mr. Ulysses Vasquez. Mr. Vasquez is joining us from Kansas City Public Schools, where he served there as Chief Technology Officer, but has a long history of IT leadership at Orange County Public Schools, Osceola County Public Schools, and Florida Virtual School. Mr. Vasquez is joined tonight by his wife, Dr. Maria Vasquez. Fun fact, their children are all graduates of Lake Brantley High School.
Y'all drive safely. Thank you. Oh, this awesome team coming up. Love you all. Rock stars.
And board members, for our focused on student achievement, we have Amy Elwood and team to talk about the curriculum project for students with disabilities.
Good evening, Superintendent, school board members. So this evening, we have come to you with this amazing team to talk to you about a project that we're very passionate about, our ESE curriculum project. So Dr. Shores and our behavior analyst, Michelle Guffey, are going to talk you through this project and tell you a little bit more in depth about what this looks like. I know you all have had a chance to tour this, but they're going to give you some more information. I know we were supposed to have a teacher with us tonight. She is sick. I will be reading her portion of this. She provided us some input and apologizes for her last-minute absence. Along with us tonight, we also have a parent who's here to tell you about her experience with the program. So with that, I'm going to get us started. Hand it over to Dr. Shores.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, school board members, for having us here tonight. Thank you, Ms. Beeman. I'm going to try to get my mic closer here. Sorry. I'm Dr. Tanya Shores. I am the Director of Special Education Services for this school district, and Michelle Guffey and I will be primarily talking through most of this, and then as Amy mentioned, Ms. Cadle here will talk a little bit about her experiences as well. So one of the things that I know as we really have developed how we practice in this school district and how we really focus on that student achievement has been thinking about how do we really support the needs of our students with disabilities in the most effective ways possible. And as we've searched and searched for those solutions for our most vulnerable students in our schools, we've come up many times empty-handed, because when we look to our experts and our sources of information for research-based practices, What Works Clearinghouse and Evidence for ESSA really being those sources that the state guides us to, there are very minimal studies to show effectiveness of curriculum and approaches for students with disabilities. As we look, for example, at What Works Clearinghouse, there's only 4 programs that show positive results for students with disabilities, and one of those programs is the curriculum that we use as a part of this project.
So in 2019, on World Autism Day, we submitted an application for a federal grant. We were awarded that in September of 2019. It's a $4 million federal grant to research the effectiveness of the curriculum project. The purpose of the federal grant is to provide solutions for high-need students, which we define as students with disabilities of all exceptionalities except for students that are speech-only or gifted. So we were very excited about that award. That award will allow us to research the effectiveness of this model for students with disabilities. And we know Seminole County is a high-performing district. And so it's important for us to be a high-performing district for all students, not just students without disabilities. We want to make sure that all of our students are included in those practices. As a part of the federal grant, we have several partners. So we have all of the leadership here in Seminole County and the support from that team. We also have, as a requirement, an independent research company, RMC Research, and they've been really key and instrumental in helping us to measure the effectiveness of our approach. We have also a partnership with the Pennsylvania Autism Initiative, UCF CARD that is providing parent training, and the National Institute for Direct Instruction, which really has helped us analyze our data and make sure students are making progress as much as they can, as fast as they can, as slow as they need to. So as I said, we were awarded the federal grant in 2019. But this isn't something that was new to the district in 2019. Actually, in 2015-16 school year, we started the implementation with 2 schools. We've grown in the number of schools that we supported each year, and when we saw the promising data from that, that is when we decided to submit the award for the federal research project. This year in 2022-2023, we're supporting 39 total schools. 10 of them are being supported through the EIR grant. So I think the important thing to know is that the curriculum project isn't just a set of packaged curricula that is delivered to teachers. It's really a look at how the system is developed to support ESC students and the ways that make the most sense to make sure that they're making growth. So this is the systems approach that we're looking at, and we're going to go through each of those circles and explain what those mean.
So first and foremost, as we're developing a program at a school for students with disabilities, as we really started to dive into, okay, which students are we talking about and what are they currently doing? What we noticed was that we were working kind of in silos based on students' disabilities. And so we did a lot of work to really look for commonalities amongst students across classrooms and across schools, and we developed this circles approach where we group our students based on need. So instead of being in a classroom only for kids with autism, which, as we know, just as an example, autism has a very wide range of functioning. So you'd have students who were low functioning and students who were very high functioning all in the same classroom. Instead, we've shifted to really identify, do students need to work on their developmental skills and their language skills, and maybe they have autism or maybe they have a different exceptionality, or do they need to work on academic skills and remediation, et cetera. So that was kind of the first step in this process, and we've moved to using this approach to group all of our students across the district.
The next step in the circles is to assess students to figure out what their instructional level is. So for students, you can see a dotted line on that graphic there display, and that's showing students that are functioning below a kindergarten level, what regardless of their age, would be considered developmental. And we look at 3 different ranges of functioning, so functioning 0 to 18 months, 18 to 30, or 30 to 48 months. So we have to develop a different type of assessment in order to figure out what those students' present level of functioning is. Something like an iReady diagnostic would just say that they were emerging K, but we need to know where are we to start instruction for those students. And for our academic students that are 2 or more years below grade level, we want to make sure that we figure out what is their current level of functioning. So we start with iReady diagnostic as a baseline, and then do some additional placement testing and looking at the data to make sure that all of the data is saying the same thing as far as what type of services we should provide students. So step 1 is assess. And then after we figure out what the starting level is, for our developmental students, we assess using the VB map. And that's a particular curriculum guide that helps us to say, our students, where are they according to their typically developing children at those age levels? So at what age do students or children start asking for things with one word? So they might say mama or up. When does that happen? When can they label different things in their environment? So it allows us to look at where do typically developing children learn things and assess them on that level. So here's an example, the level 1, those skills would be typical in a student or a child that's 0 to 18 months. Level 2 would be 19 to 30 months, and level 3 would be skills that a typical 31 to 48-month-old child would have. As you can see in the top, upper levels, we start to see things like reading and math and writing, because that's when kids start to show interest in letters and shapes and colors and numbers. So we want to make sure that we're not introducing too early some of those skills when we have gaps in skills that should happen prior to that in a developmentally appropriate sequence. So the next step is to train staff members. So before the teachers are asked to deliver any new curriculum piece, we have them attend a pre-service training in the summer. You can see we've trained 478 total staff members to date. That's teachers, paraprofessionals, speech-language pathologists, instructional coaches. We have a one-day administrators institute to help everybody really get on a good starting point before they start the school year and those students show up on day one.
So this is where Miss Howell, she's a developmental teacher from Eastbrook, was supposed to be here tonight, and she felt very passionate about giving her input because she has really loved being part of this program. So I'm going to read her statement that she emailed to us tonight. Hello, my name is Kristen Howell, and I am the developmental teacher at Eastbrook Elementary School. I have been teaching for 22 years, 17 years in the general education setting, and the last 5 years in exceptional student education. This is my third year being part of the curriculum project, and I can honestly say that it has changed my world of teaching. Before the curriculum project, I was constantly working to find appropriate materials for my students. Now, however, I have a very clear picture of where my students are and what each one of them needs. Each one of my students has a unique program tailored to their individual needs. Over the past 3 years, while implementing the curriculum project, I've witnessed my students master hundreds and hundreds of skills, learn to better communicate their needs and wants, and blossom into confident learners. I have always known that my students are smart, but now I have the tools to collect the data to show all that they know. Through intensive trial teaching and natural environment teaching, my students are able to learn new skills and practice known skills multiple times a day. I am very thankful for the materials and the coaching that the curriculum project has provided me with over the past few years.
So step 4 in our process is really looking at schedules from a few different angles. So when we have gone to schools historically and really looked at the services that students with disabilities were receiving, a couple of layers to that became really difficult based on not only the schedule in a special education classroom or the schedule of that ESE teacher, but also the master schedule as a whole, which not only creates kind of barriers for instructional times, but also really creates barriers for putting students into the least restrictive environment. And so there's a big focus on ensuring that a school master schedule has specific and targeted time for instruction and intervention to occur for students who need it in order to prevent those students who need that instruction from missing other class content. Another layer to this is really ensuring that schools and teachers are following this master schedule to fidelity so that everyone's doing the same thing at the same time across a school campus per grade level and per this master schedule so that we can create those opportunities for inclusion that are meaningful and important to all of our students' progress. So here are some examples of classroom-based schedules because that's another layer to this schedule. You guys all saw when you were visiting these schools that we create what I like to call an adult-based schedule. So across the top, you'll always see all the adults who are in that classroom. Sometimes you'll see adults who are not even in the classroom all day, speech-language pathologists, occupational therapists, but you'll see also the teacher and any paraprofessionals with specific information about what each adult is doing throughout each chunk of the school day. This allows, obviously, for accountability with what's happening in the classroom, but also provides us some flexibility throughout the day when something changes to be able to kind of swap people and change things around so that students are still getting the instruction that they're scheduled to receive. So this last one was an example of an academic classroom, and it has the specific curricula that are administered throughout the day, where this one is a developmental classroom. So it looks a lot different with the individual labels of each chunks of those school day because we're doing different things in each one of these classrooms.
So the next part of this is to teach making sure that we're using methods of curricula that are evidence-based and effective. So for our academic students, we are looking at any student that is 2 or more years below grade level, making sure that we're meeting that deficit with direct instruction curricula. So specifically, those curricula are pictured here. Some of the examples would be reading mastery, corrective reading, both the decoding and comprehension strands, and connecting math concepts. So students are placed in up to 3 of those intervention groups depending on the areas of deficit that are assessed. In our developmental classroom, the instructional materials look a little bit different because we're working on foundational language and communication skills. So they are using picture cards where we're asking them to perform different tasks to build in the language. And some of our students are using real-life objects to learn to follow instructions like put on, put in, give, just very simple instructions. So the materials look very different. So the next step is it's not enough just to provide curriculum and training. We really want to make sure that we're supporting our teachers with the implementation of that. And so we provide each of the schools, depending on the type of classrooms that they have on their campuses, with some coaching or consultation. So in our developmental classroom, we have behavior analysts that are trained in a verbal behavior implementation that are supporting how to assess the students, how to pick appropriate goals, and then with the teachers and how to implement their teaching strategies. Most of the instruction in those classrooms is done individually because the students are still learning to respond into group settings. We have a teacher on assignment that's assigned to support any of the direct instruction curricula. Those teachers on assignment typically have a lot of experience teaching those direct instruction curricula themselves. And every teacher needs a different amount of support. So a brand new teacher that's new to teaching, who's never implemented this curricula, is going to need a lot more support than a teacher who's been teaching for a long time, who's maybe had some experience and exposure to this type of curricula. So we are flexible in the amount of support that we provide each of those teachers. So that is all provided through the district's behavior and curriculum support team. So many schools have instructional coaches on their campus to support the gen ed teachers. This is a district-based coaching team comprised of 13 behavior analysts and 11 teachers. So we thought it was important for you to know how many staff members these individuals are supporting. So you can see in the next slide here the number of teachers that we are supporting over time. So the first year we supported 9 teachers. This year, in year 8 of implementation, we're supporting 169 teachers. So that is an underrepresentation of the staff we support. We also do support paraprofessionals, speech-language pathologists, interventionists, reading coaches, administrators, but that just is a representation of the classroom supported by those team members. So it's also important for us to measure fidelity of implementation and student progress. So if we are saying that we're going to do this evidence-based curricula, to the extent to which it's done or not done is important to know so that we can know what is responsible for student progress. So we do have a form that we use in the fall and the spring to measure fidelity, but also we do measure student progress using a variety of methods. For our developmental students, here would be an example of a completed VB-MAP assessment. If you look at the yellow squares that are filled in, that would represent the first time the assessment was done. So this is kind of our baseline data. You can see that this particular student had most of the skills that a 0 to 18-month-old child would have. There were several holes kind of in that middle level 2 area, but the level 3, that's where most of the skills were missing. So after 1 year of instruction, we filled in those orange squares. That would be the second assessment at the end of the first year. And then after the second year, those were the green skills that were filled in there. This particular student started in a developmental classroom. We closed those gaps, and he's now in an academic classroom receiving the direct instruction curricula, which are monitored in a different way. Here's another example of some students that are participating in the direct instruction curricula. So these are students that were entering 3rd grade when we gave the initial assessment. The passage on the left is one of the pieces of the placement test that we give to determine any deficits in reading fluency. It's about a 2nd grade level. When given that passage, these 2 particular students, they're actually in the same group together. One of them was a non-reader. The other student took 7 minutes and 36 seconds to read that passage, 12 errors, which was 14 words per minute. So you can imagine going into 3rd grade, that's a pretty significant deficit. They've had experience in regular classrooms K1, 2, but we still weren't able to get them to close that gap as far as reading goes. They were put in a fluency program. This is after 1 year of instruction. So last week I actually pulled their data. They read 112 words per minute last week. One of them had no errors, the other had 1 error. But you can see we've taken students who had made no progress into students that have made more than a year's growth in a year's time, which is what we're looking for all of our students.
And just to kind of wrap it up, summarize, really what we're seeing as the benefits from implementing this approach in our schools is that not only do we have all these amazing student-based benefits, but this also gives us continuity across the district. So a lot of times if a student moves, even in district, from one school to another school, we don't really know exactly what they were doing. We take some time, we do take a lot of data, we maybe start a few days later with some instruction when we know where that child is. If a student transfers from a curriculum project school to another curriculum project school, it's a phone call and that student workbook goes with that student to the school and they can resume instruction the next day. So we see that as a huge benefit to these students who can't afford to lose any instructional time. Teachers have received extensive training. One of the things we ask teachers before we start this project at their school is, have you ever had a coach in your classroom? And we've yet to have a teacher say yes. So then they start, we do training, they have coaches in their classroom, and they're changing the way that they teach kids every day and making a really huge and incredible impact. Follow-up training and support for all staff occurs to ensure that fidelity. So just like we're monitoring things with our gen ed students, iReady minutes, fast assessments, et cetera, we're able to measure that growth very specifically and monitor it very regularly for the students in these classrooms and these groups. Again, they receive weekly on-site support, and so they feel supported and want to stay in those positions. And students are closing gaps, most importantly, by progressing as fast as they can, but as slow as they need to. All right, Ms. Cadle.
Thank you. Thank you very much for believing in my son and investing in my son, Harrison. At 2 years old, we began this journey that we will forever be on. At 2, he began services under an IFSP for autism spectrum disorder, expressive and receptive language disorder. As we transitioned to kindergarten, we didn't know what to expect or where to expect it all to happen. I was willing to take him anywhere that could meet his needs. Lake Mary Elementary just happened to be our zoned school, and he qualified for the self-contained developmental class. We hit the jackpot. Harrison was given an opportunity to learn at his pace on his time with all the supports of amazing teachers. We began when he began first grade, we were introduced to the VB MAP program. At this time, a teacher from another school, Mrs. Amy Hyde, had transferred to Lake Mary, and she had been teaching this program for years. She began using VB MAP with Harrison. I still remember letting her know that Harrison never called us by our names. I was never Mom, Dad was never Dad. His sisters were never Evelyn and Balin. He couldn't tell us what he wanted or needed. He led us by hand where he wanted to go and grunted at us when he was upset. And he took things from us when we had guessed right as to what it was he was trying to ask us for. Ms. High worked diligently with the support of county personnel who often visited and worked with Harrison. He was gaining his voice. Second grade came and COVID hit. We weren't sure what to expect, but again, his teachers came through and we continued progress at home from March until May. He returned to school face-to-face in August of that year, and now he was beginning the 3rd grade. He graduated to the academic unit. We were so proud. To say that I was nervous about him leaving Miss High was an understatement, but Miss Kat Scott continued on the journey with us as she used reading mastery and connecting math with him. He continued to master his IEP goals. He was learning. He was communicating with us. This summer, he read a book with me. There were words on the page that I did not expect him to know. He read every single word. We celebrated. He reads, he writes, he responds to his name, he can count, and he can add. Now that he has a voice, he greets us with Mommy, Daddy, Evelyn, and Balin. He can express his wants and needs. He often asks for Swedish fish, jelly beans, to go to the park, to swim, to color, and many other activities that he enjoys. On Saturday mornings, he plays baseball in a buddy ball league in Altamont. This summer, we were leaving the park. He looked up to me and he said, "Want to go to dinner?" I replied, "Sure, buddy. What would you like?" He said, "Want to go to Jason's Deli." When we struggled so much with language, we would often say to Harrison, "Just let us know what you want. We'll do anything for you." So that night, we ate dinner at Jason's Deli because he requested it. Harrison continues to learn, communicate, and soar because someone decided to invest in his learning by adopting the curriculum project. Thank you to his amazing teachers and support personnel for believing in him, and thank you for investing in my son and the many other children that are just like him. They now have a voice and are learning with a program designed to help them learn. Thank you.
Well, I don't think I could tell you anything better than that. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Thank you.
Any comments, Dr. Calderon?
Mom, thanks for sharing and thanks for making us all cry. But
Thank you.
That's what we're all here for. And so the question I'd have for this phenomenal team is, when can we have this district-wide, and as we onboard new teachers in this group, is that the best time so they don't have to unlearn their old teaching ways to learn new teaching ways? And what can we do to support moms and students like that, and to you and your team? So just let us know what we can do.
Yeah. So we're heading into our sustainability planning year, and we'll have the chance to reapply for this grant, but obviously we want this work to continue and to continue to grow. So I'll let Michelle talk about how many schools we're adding for next year in the sustainability planning.
Yes, at this point in time, this school year, we added 4 new elementary schools. Next year, through the federal grant, we're going to add 3 additional elementary schools. At the completion of the federal grant project, we'll have 10 remaining elementary schools that won't be implementing. And that would be a good time to start to have those discussions about adding on so that all of the schools are participating. We have, even though the federal grant is focused on elementary schools, continued to increase our support in middle and high schools. Many times it's at the request of parents whose students have been in schools and classrooms that have this type of support. So we've continued to grow with the students as they're progressing up through those. So we're continuing to add middle and high schools. So by the end of this school year, we should have a plan to propose to add on the additional schools that aren't implementing.
Thank you so much. I don't want to get emotional, but this program has been just amazing, and all of us had a great opportunity visiting and seeing all the wonderful implementations that have been taking place, and all your hard work, as well as all of our teachers, staff, parapros, students, families. It takes a village, and everybody collaborating and working together, it's working, and that's what it's all about, and learning through playing. And if a child does have maybe an emotional upset down, a time that they need some time away or space, but that we give them that, and that we go from there, and instead of punishing them and pulling them out of a situation, you are allowing them to have that time, and then going with them and rebuilding. And I was so blown away with how successful and how amazing it's been. And just the implementation of just a mastery schedule alone, I mean, that takes a lot of work. And I don't think a lot of teachers realize when, they're coming back into the classrooms that, a lot of our special education teachers and paras, everybody has so much time to work on that. But they have to collaborate, make sure that these children get that recess time still, that we don't take them away from special areas, that we don't take them away from areas that they need those social skills and the developmental times that they need to be in the classrooms, as well as with you or with our teachers. So what we saw, the fact that I couldn't even tell who was a para, who was a teacher, was mind-blowing. So thank you again.
So I just have one financial question, because we get to an end of a grant period, we have to apply again. I would, when you're going through that process, would just love to hear what if we don't get that second grant? How can we keep this sustainable and get it in all the schools? Because I speak for myself, but I see a lot of shaking heads that we would completely support making sure that this is a program that continues in this school district. So thank you.
And I think you can see our commitment when you look at the slides by the number of staff that are not paid out of the grant. The bulk of our coaching staff is paid out of IDEA and not out of the EIR grant. So we've made a significant commitment to grow this program outside of the grant. So, and we'll continue to do that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, well done.
Yes.
Okay, board members, any items for discussion? Member Sanchez?
No, I just have my regular report from the end. Good, thank you.
Member Kraus?
No comments at this time.
Member Almond?
No comments, thank you.
Member Calderon?
No, Member Chair.
And I have none either, so we will go into public comment. First is Judy Ying, followed by Tina McClory, followed by Nina Sandberg.
I'm gonna go ahead.
Oh, yes, sorry.
That's okay.
Yes, please read the
Policy
statement.
0169.1, public participation at board meetings. The purpose of public participation segment of the board meeting is to allow the public to address matters within the school board's jurisdiction and not for resolving individual grievances or disputes. Public comments related to education, the board agenda, and the district are welcome and encouraged. To maintain orderly conduct, the public comment segment of the meeting may not be used as an open forum to discuss matters unrelated to education, to support or oppose candidates for public office, including presentation or of political and or campaign issues, announcing candidacy and or campaigning, or to engage in commercial speech attempting to sell a service or product to the board or to the public. Nor is it a forum to address matters involving disciplinary actions of any kind, pending claims, complaints, or litigation against the district or district personnel. Also, public comment is not a forum to engage in personal attacks against school system employees or any board member or board members. Statements made by a member of the public shall be limited to 3 minutes in duration. One designated group representative speaking on a proposition before the board will have a maximum of 6 minutes. No speaker may yield his or her time to any other person. Substitutions of speakers will not be allowed except in exceptional circumstances as determined by the presiding officer. Speakers shall direct their comments only to the board and may not address the audience or other speakers. This policy does not prohibit the board from maintaining orderly conduct or proper decorum in a public meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Judy Ying, followed by Tina McClory, followed by Nina Sandberg.
Good evening, Superintendent Beeman and board members. My name is Judy Ying, and I work at Lake Howell High School. Is it working?
Yeah, it's harder to hear you.
Okay. This week, 2 more teachers quit. One was a 17-year veteran, the other a 25-year veteran. The first one quit the district. The second one took a leave of absence. Currently in my school, there are 3 long-term subs in science alone. We were told 4 weeks ago someone was hired, but the onboarding process was just taking time. My concern is people being hired are not teachers. In fact, according to the governor, many new faces standing in front of the classroom will not be trained as teachers. First responders, veterans, they're all great people. They gave of themselves to serve our cities or our counties, but unless they have gone through the necessary education to get certified, they are not teachers. This obviously affects the students, but no one talks about the stress on the other teachers. Who will teach the new teacher how to teach? Knowing the subject matter is important, but knowing how to teach it is more important. This year I have 180 students. Last year I had 150. I have the equivalent of 1 more class stuffed into my 6 classes. Now I must assist the new hires in my department who are not teachers. I sound selfish, but I'm anything but. I give a lot of my time to help teachers and students, time that is uncompensated, time away from my family. Another teacher who teaches in AP Science has 174 students this year, about 30 more than last year. But now she has 2 classes, and they're each over 30 apiece. She had a great passing rate last year with smaller classes, but it's uncertain if she'll be able to replicate that this year. As a teacher, this is demoralizing. You work twice as hard, but do not see the great results. Our overcrowded classrooms are exhausting. There is so much wearing us down and sending us running, and every time one of us leaves, the rest have to pick up the pieces. We're on our 5th testing coordinator in 8 years. Obviously, those folks have not been adequately supported. It is a really tough job. I don't know if they get training from the district, but what I do know is that we teachers end up having to train them. This is another example of where the teachers must fix the problem. Our governor tells us that teachers are causing all the problems. Let's put people in without college degrees. He said colleges fill our heads with worthless information. That's demoralizing. And the kids hear that. That certainly does not make me feel better, and our teachers are quitting to preserve their mental health. This cannot continue and have us be an A district. I think that's in jeopardy. Without teachers, we do not have educated students or students who are ready for life as adults. The district needs a plan to attract and retain good teachers. We have a fierce urgency of now.
Order, please.
Tina McClory, Sanford, Florida. Good evening, Superintendent Beeman,
and school board members. My name is Tina McClory, and I'm a paraprofessional. Tonight, I would like to highlight the role of an elementary paraprofessional. We enrich the lives of our children each day. When you visit our schools, you may hear the following statements from paras. Good morning, Sean. How was your weekend? Please continue to walk on the back line as we have many buses still to arrive safely. How are you doing today, Amy? Your teacher said you could work on this math problem together. So if you have any questions, you can ask me. Hi, Steve. Welcome. This is what we're working on in lab today. Or, I'm so excited you came to the media center today. Let's see which Sunshine State reader you want to read first. Paras support students during lunchtime. You may hear, okay, fifth graders, this week we're gonna have a code red drill while you're with me in the dining room. I need to explain during the drill what you're supposed to do so we're ready and safe together. And of course, this statement, especially during the school year 2021. Hello, boys and girls. Your teacher could not be here today, so I am your substitute. While you cannot use a test score to see how a para supports our students, we still help students achieve. Paras are educators also. Paras usually live in the school community that they work in and know many of the families. Thank you for the starting rate for paras for $15 this year. However, let us also consider the paras who have enriched and helped our students for many years. Please reconsider the current rate for all other paras. Many paras must work multiple jobs to support their families. 29 cents an hour different from current new hires should not represent 23 years of service. Thank you for your consideration as we all strive to help our students and keep Seminole an A+ school system.
Order.
I'm Nina Sandberg, and I represent the peasant citizens. Supposedly, at least 3 board members support changing non-agenda public comment time back to 3 minutes. All 5 board members are supposed to support 3 minutes of non-agenda public comment time, and no board members were ever supposed to vote to shorten it to 2 minutes ever. You have effectively given the citizens of Seminole County your middle finger. You have effectively taken a Marie Antoinette, let them eat cake attitude that is mean, malicious, and arrogant. In Florida, even the homeowners and condos associations give 3 minutes of non-agenda public comment time, as well as 3 minutes of agenda public comment time, both. You'll be treating the citizens worse than they get treated by their HOAs and COAs now. For over a year now, there have been attempts behind the scenes to stifle, limit, restrict, censor, hide, and conceal public comments. Someone at 400 East Lake Mary Boulevard has been driving this unethical train from behind the scenes. This has to stop. 380 measly words is hardly even enough time to describe any given problem to you. 260 lousy words, 2 minutes, is not enough time to explain any problem sufficiently. As it is, the citizens have to delete almost all details with only 380 words. It is very important to the community that SCPS continues to live stream the entire public board meeting, including the public comments, and it is very important that the board respect the public comment rights of the employees, the parents, the students, and the taxpayers. SCPS needs to continue to make the entire public comment portion of the board meeting available for review on live streaming and YouTube, and SCPS needs to understand this school system belongs to the citizens of Seminole County. It does not belong to any board member. It belongs to the citizens of Seminole County. They have to be able to bring their problems to you. Most of the public comment is non-agenda public comment, It is not agenda public comment. I've been coming to these board meetings now for a year and a half. Most of it is non-agenda public comment, and the citizens need to be able to tell you what is wrong. It is very, very important. It is your job to listen to them. You're getting paid to listen to them. They elected you to listen to them. Change public comment back, non-agenda public comment time, back to 3 minutes, the way it's supposed to be.
Evan Cornia, followed by J.J. Holmes, followed by Allison Holmes.
Superintendent Beeman and board members, thank you very much for your time this evening. Since 2020, across the United States, more than 500,000 educators have left the profession. And we've heard many reasons why. Teacher pay, working conditions, poor discipline in the schools, lack of respect. The reasons are legion. In Seminole County alone, more than 400 teachers left following last year, and 61 have left since the start of this year. It's been said that the first step in solving a problem is recognizing that there is one. And I think everyone in this room recognizes that there is a problem in encouraging teachers to stay where they are and stay in the profession. Prior to becoming a teacher, I worked in the private sector. I worked for both FedEx and what is now BNY Mellon, both of whom are considered among the top companies in the world to work for. When I left, even though at BNY I was a lonely platform banker, and at FedEx I was one of the guys who wore purple and handed packages and picked up packages every day, I was contacted by Human Resources for an exit interview. They asked me why I was leaving, they asked me what I liked about the job, and they asked me what my concerns about the job were that made me want to leave. They asked me what could be done to make FedEx a better place. They asked me what could be done to make FedEx a better place for its employees. They do this with every single employee who leaves the company. Since I started teaching at South Seminole Academy back in 2012, of the 74 teachers that were there on my first day, less than 25 of them are still teaching at South Seminole. Some of them have moved elsewhere in the district, some of them have left the district, but none of the ones that I've spoken with over the past week said they were ever given any form of exit interview. They were told, this is when your insurance ends, this is when you need to be out, don't forget to leave your keys, thank you for playing, have a nice day. No effort has been made to find out why they would want to leave a position in an A-rated school district. If the first step in solving a problem is recognizing there is one, the second step is knowing what the problem is. To find out that problem of teachers leaving, it is necessary that Seminole County Public Schools ask the teachers, why did you leave? Why would you want to leave an A-rated school in an A-rated district? When I was hired in Seminole County, I was told that 10 years before, it was a place that you couldn't even get into because no one wanted to leave. Today, there are over 20 open positions in Seminole County for teachers that they can't fill. You need to make Seminole County a place where teachers want to teach again. And the best way to do that is use your HR department to find out why teachers are leaving. All you have to do is ask. I'm sure they will share the information. Thank you very much.
Order, please.
Superintendent Beeman, members of the school board, my name is J.J. Holmes and I use he, him pronouns. I'm here to address the board in Seminole because your social media posts are terrible. Students asked you to recognize pride on Twitter, but you refused and left us feeling very bitter. The Don't Say Gay bill is very intrusive. And we want our school district to step up and be inclusive. We want board members who'll fight for equity. Because in our schools, that's a necessity. We need board members who believe in science. Because then our school district triumphs. And our teachers are all totally weary of hearing about critical race theory. Students in Seminole aren't a loud minority. We're a woke, diverse, progressive majority. Until all the board members start to listen, students will keep speaking up in opposition. We want everyone to know they're welcome at school. Because right-wing extremists are being very cruel. Board members should stand up and fight bigotry. And not be besties with Moms for Liberty. Seminole Schools is hanging on the brink. Because the board is only as strong as its weakest link. Love trumps hate. Thank you.
Order, please.
Alison Holmes, Longwood. I'm here tonight as I'm hoping to dissuade a board member from dog whistling at our local homeschooling moms. This group is the same people who said at last month's meeting their goal is to, quote, establish a partnership with the board. So tonight, I'm not going to mention the absolute shellacking every single candidate endorsed by the joyful warriors of Seminole County suffered on August 23rd. Nope, tonight I'm going to point out the folly of board members going on social media to actively seek out the opinion of this group and their opinion on board matters, which is something this group is definitely not qualified to answer. You knew full well they claim teachers in SCPS are indoctrinating students. They've now decided Peppa Pig is pornographic. And standing right here, they told you how in their households, dads are the heads of families for a reason. A husband should be a partner, your equal. What legitimate input that's relevant to our sons and our daughters could you possibly be wanting from a bunch of women who believe subservience to your husband is a desirable trait? These joyful warriors aren't academic savants, or they're not titans of some Fortune 500 company. From what they've shared up here, their skill sets mainly lie in baking and catering. Now, don't get me wrong, being able to whip up a batch of cupcakes is an admirable thing, but I don't think it necessarily equips you to be handing out advice to all and sundry who work in the district about the running of a juggernaut like SCPS. The only thing you should be asking their advice on is the best temperature for your chocolate cake. There's now only a trickle of the homeschooling joyful warriors who are still hijacking our school board meetings for their agenda. Please stop encouraging them. And it was nauseating to watch the obsequious bootlicking at the last meeting as each of the joyful warriors thanked you. Your message was received loud and clear. Thankfully, even with distasteful stunts like that, voters in Seminole County made the right choice. As the saying goes, you can put lipstick on a pig, but at the end of the day, it's still a pig.
Order.
Trinetta McClinta, followed by Jessica Tillman.
Good evening.
evening, Superintendent Beeman and board members. Last meeting I said as comments were made about our school system being unsafe because of gun violence on campus and fighting. Now that Superintendent Beeman holds the superintendent position. Well, news flash, everyone. This is not only a national problem, it is not a new problem for SCPS. This is not an issue caused by the superintendent. I repeat, this is not an issue caused by the superintendent. I also want to address a survey that has been put out for the feedback of the superintendent. I have a few questions. Why hasn't this survey been put out with any other superintendent? Who received an email or a link to this survey, because I am an SCPS parent ×3 and did not receive anything? Who governs and monitors the survey? Who received the survey? Who, along with what committee, reviewed the data and feedback of the survey? How many surveys were submitted? Who monitored the survey for multiple submissions, submissions from non-Seminole County residents, submissions from non-Seminole County parents? Who decided that this survey was valid? It appears to me that this survey is highly unethical. This survey has nothing to do with SCPS and everything to do with racial hatred and a push for a political agenda that has no place in the school board. This is not the arena for it. Remember, this is supposed to be the arena for our children, all of our children. Thank you.
Order, please.
Good evening. My name is Jessica Tillman. I'm speaking on behalf of Moms for Liberty, Seminole County. I am a Longwood resident. I want to thank the district for meeting with a wide variety of us in an effort to support our special needs students. I'm excited to help the district support this group of students. We have taken a step in the right direction when it comes to special needs. I know this new superintendent or new assistant superintendent has the potential to impact so many students across the district, and it's showing with the presentation we saw this evening. I also cannot wait to hear back from the district regarding the donation of the constitutions for all 8th graders in the district. This is a great opportunity to build interest in the founding principles of this great nation. We have a lot of great conversations happening and hoping more will follow. The changes to the public participation policy, policy 1069.1, separating the agenda items from non-agenda items is fine. Limiting non-agenda items to 2 minutes instead of 3 minutes is not okay. Who made that call, especially when the board, everyone up here said that 3 minutes would have been fine. So our community is asking for 3 minutes, so why was it not provided? Last year, you discriminated against unvaccinated teachers. You are now discriminating against community members coming to you with concerns. You are now telling us you do not care about our concerns outside of what's on your agenda. The teachers, the bus drivers last year, the parents of special needs students asking for services, students fighting for dress code reform, the students speaking up for a proclamation, the SLPs, the softball players last year, and parents for years. All of these citizens of Seminole County will now be cut short 33% of their public comment. One of the changes to the comprehensive health education policy, policy 2417, is very concerning to me. In the statute 1003.42, it refers to reproductive health. Why would the district change that to human sexuality? Why was this change necessary, and why is this board okay with it? The grant funds policy, policy 6110, now states maintenance of efforts and maintaining of equity requirements for federal programming will be met in accordance with the requirements of the specific funding program. I voiced this concern before that the district is looking to the federal government to fill the gap of the loss of a large number of students. So this brings up why do we use Neola? 38 districts in Florida uses Neola. They generate sometimes identical policies, even down to the policy number at times. It is time to take the district off of autopilot and do things that are intentional and caters to SCPS specifically. Do we not have enough attorneys working for the district that are perfectly capable of taking feedback from the board and writing policies that are in the best interest of the district? Not just signing off on policies that cookie cutter our district to look like 37 other Neola districts. This would also free up some money to offer things for other things needed in the district, like paying our 120 SLPs their worth. We have time and time again asked for transparency, and we see going backwards. We see policies, when these policies were discussed in a workshop, they were not put on a screen. In order to see these changes, I either had to do a public records request or wait for the agenda packet to come out. When I first started attending the workshops, the policy changes were put on the screen for all to see. Now only board members can see the changes. We're seeing more teachers leave this year than the previous 4 years already. What is being done to stop the hemorrhage? It's time to stop pretending that there isn't a problem and start listening to the community at the top of your organizational chart. We went from being number 1 or 2 in the state, and now we're number 9. SCPS celebrated 9th place. Like it was said earlier, you can't fix a problem if you aren't willing to admit there is one. Thank you.
All right, that concludes public comment. So board members or superintendent, do you have a recommendation for the consent agenda?
Yes, that the School Board of Seminole County approve the student disciplinary recommendations from August 29, 2022.
So moved.
Consent agenda. Go back. Consent agenda.
That the consent agenda be approved as presented.
Thank
So
you.
moved.
Second? Awesome. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Superintendent, do you have a recommendation on discipline hearings?
Yes, that the School Board of Seminole County approve the student disciplinary recommendations from August 29, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Superintendent, you have new business.
Yes. That the School Board of Seminole County adopt the instructional materials recommendation of the Social Studies Adoption Committees for United States History and authorize the superintendent to purchase the highest-ranked committee choice that also appears on the 2022-2023 Florida DOE Social Studies Instructional Materials Adoption List, current at the time of purchase.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Under the superintendent's report, we have the superintendent's annual evaluation. So I will read the results into the record. In accordance with the terms of Ms. Beeman's contract as superintendent with the School Board of Seminole County, Florida, she is to be evaluated by each school board member annually to be completed no later than October 1st in the current school year. The superintendent is evaluated on 5 standards. Each standard includes 5 to 7 professional practices, which are rated on a scale of unsatisfactory, 1 point, needs improvement, 2 points, effective, 3 points, and highly effective, 4 points. Additionally, each board member has opportunity to provide written comments relative to each rated standard. The standards are rated as follows. Standard 1, Vision and Culture. Standard 2, Business Operations. Standard 3, Board Governance and Policy. Standard 4, Communication and Community Relations. Standard 5, Ethical Leadership. Following is a summary of Ms. Beeman's 2022 annual evaluation. For Standard 1, Ms. Beeman scored an average rating of 2.94. For Standard 2, Ms. Beeman scored an average rating of 2.77. For Standard 3, Ms. Beeman scored an average rating of 2.44. For Standard 4, Ms. Beeman scored an average rating of 2.25. For Standard 5, Ms. Beeman scored an average rating of 3.0. Ms. Beeman's overall performance rating is 2.68, which is considered effective. Per Ms. Beeman's contract, her employment is extended through June 30th, 2026. A copy of the entire evaluation is available for review by contacting Jill Moramus, clerk to the school board, if you would like a copy. School board members, I think I just wanted to open this up and have a discussion because this 2022 evaluation is a decrease from her 90-day evaluation, and I think that we need to just have a discussion about moving forward just to make sure that we are providing the support needed to Ms. Beeman, that we are an A-rated district and we deserve an A-rated superintendent, and I want to make sure that we continue the success that we have had up to date. I had a struggle during the whole superintendent evaluation. One with how we get to the point of 2.68 being effective and resulting in a 3% bonus and a year extension on the contract. So I would like to request that this board support the superintendent to provide us with an action plan to address the concerns that we've laid out in our evaluation. So I would just like to open that up for discussion.
I'll just make the first comment. I think 90 days is a very difficult time frame to evaluate someone brand new to a position.
Agree. Absolutely agree.
And I believe I wrote that on my evaluation from before and discussed that with Superintendent Beeman, that I didn't feel it was a fair evaluation on a 90-day evaluation when you just came into the job last year. That was the first evaluation, if you know what I'm talking about, that one.
And so let me just clarify. I don't think an action plan just based on a decrease from a 90-day evaluation to a one-year evaluation. I think because historically we've had 3s and 4s as superintendent reviews, and now we have come up with an average of 2.68, and that's a concern. And I want to make sure that we are providing the support, that we are working collaboratively to make sure that we are moving the district forward and continue with the A-rated leadership that we expect.
Well, I think a lot of comments were even made tonight from the public as far as HR, correct? Like most of us have worked in corporate America, and it's the norm to have an exit interview, when somebody leaves, and it's usually the norm, at least within the corporations that I've worked in. When you do an annual evaluation, it's a two-way evaluation, right? So I'd like to hear from whoever's being evaluated what their goals are that they want to work on, but we, as the evaluator, would perhaps outline our top priorities of what we'd like to see. I know I went to the clerk when I was given this evaluation to fill out, and I'm like, why is this off a fiscal year? And I found myself having to determine when I'm looking at data, what was last fiscal year, what was this fiscal year, because by the contract we have to do the evaluation in October, which is not the fiscal year. So my bad on it that I was evaluating of some situations that are current versus last year. During the entire year that Ms. Beeman was the superintendent, this is the only evaluation, it was under her leadership that we were an A school rated district. It was under her leadership that we did recruit and retain and change some things. So I think the timing of it is difficult, and I know I can just speak from Ms. Almond's and my time. The reason we did it that way in the past was we were waiting on data from Tallahassee because we did outline specific data points that we wanted to achieve. So maybe if we got back to that, but I really think it has to be a two-way because, as you know, we don't manage the school district, our superintendent does. We set policy. So we don't know all the inner workings of the management, nor should we, of the district. But I agree with you, Ms. Pennick, that we need to be able to support the works of the district, and if we don't set policy, it kind of hinders us. And I know Neola was brought up tonight too, but I remember being on this board without Neola, and quite frankly, we don't have the attorneys on staff for that, and I think our policies have come a whole lot clearer with their input, and every one of those policies we do make Seminole County centric. We add things, but make sure that we are still abiding by state law. So to come full circle with your question and your comments, I think I would like to replicate a lot of HR issues within the school district as we do in corporate, and I would love to have the input two ways. And I don't know whether we workshop something like that or we each write down our top 3 goals or 2 goals and Ms. Beeman's goals, so we can be a better team together, because we're all driving this boat in the same direction, I hope, and we have to be a family, we have to be a team, and we have to lead by example. And we've heard tonight from many hardworking teachers and administrators and parapros, and we need to make sure that we're doing everything we can do to support their great work. So however we choose to fashion it, I'm all in.
I have another comment. You know, Tina and I have been on the board for 12 years. This is our 4th superintendent that we know, all uniquely different. Dr. Haggerty, I never met him before until I was on the school board, because you were not permitted. You were not permitted to really come into the building. Dr. Vogel, very different style. You gave him whatever information, and he said thank you, and you didn't visit schools, and you didn't get into anything. And then Dr. Griffin came, and oh my gosh, and that's the only experience that some of you have. You know, it's very, and that makes it hard too.
Just saying, like, I know somebody was talking about exit interviews, and as a classroom teacher, we were trained to give exit interviews to our students after they finish a lesson, to see if they understood the concept that was being taught. And I know that exit interviews are difficult, and when I asked Sarita numerous times before in the past about exit interviews, sometimes people don't, even to us, they don't feel comfortable because they're afraid of retaliation or repercussions. So they may not actually be honest with us or HR or with Sarita or with any of us, which is very difficult, because they feel like if they do share their concerns, that's going to be held against them, and that's very difficult. But when I met with Superintendent Beeman, I had suggested, because I was so excited when she told me about Eckerd College and the 3-grade training program that you went through, and you graduated. Congratulations, and kudos to you. I think that is awesome, an awesome thing to celebrate, and I want to celebrate with you. But if I don't know about it, it's hard to know if I don't know. So I had suggested to Superintendent Beeman, just like I would do for my classroom, is put a portfolio together of things that I have done. This way, it's there maybe a month in advance, or maybe if we want to do it on a monthly basis, whatever you feel is comfortable, whatever everybody else feels comfortable. I don't want to take time away from your crazy schedule or anybody else's crazy schedule. I know you're running in 15 different directions, so I want to be considerate of your time. But and I know I run over on my board book reviews, so we don't get a chance to really talk in depth like we want to, and that could be me being a squirrel, and I know that's part of my problem, and I own up to it. But when I do reach out, I do get answers from Sarita. I would like some sort of format, maybe, which would be the same thing that Dr. Calderon is stating and Karen Allman saying about maybe having our goals and looking at them all together and what we all want to do together to collaborate to make it as successful for you as possible and to help you grow as much as possible as well.
So I'm hearing a couple things, and I had a second point that I wanted to bring up was I struggled with tying the evaluation to the job description, to the contract. And so, Dr. Calderon, you brought up a point. I think I would like to request a workshop for us to look at the evaluation process, because I think there's huge value in a self-evaluation component. We don't get to hear everything that you're doing, every success that you're doing, there's not enough time to share all of that. And I think it's a good self-reflection point. I think it gives us a baseline of where you are, and so I would love the opportunity for us to sit down and look at the evaluation and come up with something that is more aligned with the strategic plan, the job description, and the contract, and timing, and all of that. And maybe part of that discussion is also some goal setting for us to make sure that we're not having to have this tough discussion next year when it comes time to evaluation.
And respectfully, at the end of the day, it's not all our individual needs, it's what we collectively agree on. It's not your 50, my 50, your 50.
Correct.
That's not fair. We're a board.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
And that's why I think doing it in a workshop is the best, and maybe Madam Clerk can look for a future work session that we could add it on to, because I too found a disconnect of the evaluation versus, well, that's not data we
don't have knowledge.
track anymore, or we don't know about this, and if we as a team haven't asked for our leader to do it, why should we expect that? So, you know, I always run less is more too. I just thought there were too many detailed questions, that you could have just had one question rather than 5. And we've made these same comments, and I'm sure the teachers will nod their heads. The Marzano evaluation, right? There's a whole lot of indicators on that too. And, you know, if we don't know what the indicators are and we don't have the data for it, it's hard for us to evaluate, so.
I agree with you, Amy, on that. And also, you know, as a classroom teacher, you know, I always find them very subjective in the sense that if a administrator comes into your classroom and they don't see something that you have on your board that you're supposed to be teaching at that given moment, you're marked off. Like, I always had difficulty with that, and I still do to this day, because sometimes teachers get off their schedule in order to teach a different lesson, or maybe back up to refresh a skill that maybe was not being introduced the way that they needed it to be, so they may have to redirect. And I think it's important that that we reflect that, and that we have that chance to have everybody, you know, look back and reflect on everything, like you were saying as well, and for us to all work together. We're all in this together, and it takes a village of all wonderful employees that we have here, and of course, we want our district to be the best district that it can possibly be, but it's not going to be that way if we can't all do this. And I think that a work session and getting and narrowing down, like everybody else has discussed, would be very beneficial.
So do we have consensus in a work session? Yes? Okay. All right. One additional kind of underlying tone that I read through the evaluation, but also have had a lot of concerns about some of the safety issues that we've had. And so I would like to request if we could calendar a meeting on safety and security with the district team, with the sheriff's team, to talk about our safety plan, to make sure it is up to date, and that we are addressing the current issues that we are experiencing in the most appropriate manner, and not the manner that was 2 years ago or 4 years ago, but that's more timely and appropriate. So if you guys would be open to that, I would like to request maybe we find a 2-hour time to schedule that conversation.
I'm definitely for that, especially after seeing, you know, something on the news the other day about vaping being such a huge issue. We knew that, but I wasn't expecting to see that on the news, and then hearing different views from different principals of how they are handling it. And I thought we were in agreement, we agreed on certain consequences, and everybody's doing something different, and I do have issues with that, so I want to make sure we're all on the same page, and administrators, and that they're coding everything the way that it needs to be coded, because that's extremely critical in treating all of our children and situations, and not everything's going to be fair, but to the most part that we need to be looking at the situation and making sure everything's coded properly.
Like to provide any input?
Yes, thank
Okay.
you for your feedback regarding my performance during the first year as superintendent, a position that resulted in many joyous, unforgettable days as well as challenges that have been unlike any that past boards and superintendents have experienced. So after talking with you all, I have done a number of things. I took the opportunity to do a self-assessment, which I have provided for you here today. As I did in my 100-day plan, I listened, I learned, and am leading. And I believe that I've done that with an open mind and open heart. And so in the 21-22 school year, you all know that it began with the hopes of returning to normalcy. We tried our best to do that, but the pandemic-related issues such as safety, such as the physical and mental health of our students and educators, such as staffing issues and ongoing legislative and rule mandates, they created many opportunities for teamwork and for innovative solutions, despite those challenges. Seminole County Public Schools maintained an A rating, and as you all know, had this board elected to receive a grade for 2021, we would have been a B district. And so yes, there were great achievements last year under my leadership, even during us moving through the worst, I believe, of the pandemic. And so I did take an opportunity to do a self-assessment based on those indicators, and I have that for you all here, but I'll highlight a few of the areas that I'm most proud of, and I will also provide to you all my commitment to addressing the recommendations and to being on the continuous journey of improvement that Seminole County Public Schools is known for. But there were many, many successes last year. I'll start with, as you all remember, our staffing issues at the beginning of the year when we had to readjust because we opened the window for the virtual school. We had to reallocate resources in a very short period of time because we listened to our community about where the community was at that point in the face of the Delta variant. We responded and did so without an impact to the budget by being smart and innovative with the resources that we have under my leadership. I also appointed an assistant superintendent for school and student success to focus on improvement of the most impacted schools in our district. And through the work of that department, those 4 schools earned more than 6 grades of improvement in 1 year. We do not have, as we would have had, any Fs in Seminole County Public Schools. We created a unique learning remote model, again, listening to our community about how to keep our children engaged even as we were working through the pandemic. I believe that that opportunity provided for our students to continue to learn and resulted in some of the successes that we saw at the end of the school year. They showed it, they worked hard, and they continued to learn throughout the year. We empowered the Department of Teaching and Learning to accelerate the rollout of the best standards and to have the most historic, I believe, professional learning opportunity for all of our teachers this school year. We did so without impacting the general budget, and we did so by recognizing the professionalism of our teachers and paying them at their regular rate, even as they volunteer to come and begin the new work. So yes, I do believe that that was a recruitment opportunity, but also a retainment opportunity, because our teachers were prepared to engage our students on day one. They had that opportunity. We also successfully completed the February 22, Developing Superior Leaders Program for the Florida Association of District School Superintendents, which was on my calendar. I did go, participate and shared some of the things that I learned from that professional learning opportunity with you all. I've utilized the ESSER funding tactically to provide financial incentives to a variety of employees throughout the last year. That includes substitute teachers, bus drivers, and school-based staff that were responsible for the COVID-19 management during the highest transmission period associated with the Delta variant, all without impacting the general budget. And in response to the analysis of the student discipline data, and during that first semester, we again reprioritized budgets to provide 20 behavior interventionist allocations to the highest need schools, and that continues this school year. I've met with small groups of principals, teachers, district staff to listen to concerns and to share continued vision for excellence and equity in our schools. So I have a complete document that I'd like to make a part of the record, but I do want to thank you for your feedback and for your willingness to put students first. And I look forward to taking the next steps to move forward on both my personal and the district's continuous improvement journey.
Thank you, Ms. Beeman. Any further comments? Okay. Do you have a superintendent report other than this?
No, that will be it.
Okay. Board committee updates. Member Sanchez.
First, I'm going to talk about the Central Florida Zoo. In a couple months, we have the Asian Lantern Festival. I believe we've already sold like 275 tickets, and they've already sold some of their major sponsors. So don't forget to get your tickets for that. Our meeting last week went really well. I'm actually having a meeting with our new CEO tomorrow morning to discuss some more options that we're partnering or going to, and then I'll discuss it with Superintendent Beeman to make sure that we're on board with all this. Central Florida Zoo and all the wonderful programs that we have embedded with them. Wanted to keep you in the loop that please visit the website to see all the wonderful things that we can do at the zoo. We're in the best financial situation we've ever been at the zoo, and there's so many wonderful activities that our families can enjoy together. But one thing that I just want to point out is that the Family Sunset in the Zoo activity is coming up. That is Friday, September 23rd. It's being sponsored by Love 8 Fund. It's $6 per person online, $8 per person on site. It's a family of 4 could get in for $40, and you can enjoy the zoo at night. Morton Smith is also sponsoring the Tropical Splash Ground and all the different things like that. Also, there's a night hike on the zoo. That's Saturday, September 24th. That's 7:30 to 10 p.m. You have to be 5 years of age or older. And keep in mind that there's also daily keeper chats that if you go to the zoo 2 times a day, you just let the when you get to the entrance, just let them know that you're interested in doing the daily chat, and they will walk you around, introducing you to some of the different animals, and you can learn all about the different species that are there. I think last time I told you about our orphan spider monkeys. They're doing really well. They're getting acclimated. Remember, they lost their moms, and when that happens, they end up being by themselves, and they're doing exceptionally well. We were supposed to visit the sheep, our new sheep that are there, and we have somebody that the Harlequin sheep. I wanted to mention that. We were supposed to see them, but it was a horrible storm. They just came from Memphis, Tennessee, and they did the shearing of the animals, and I kind of wanted to know what do they do with the fur? The other animals play with it. Isn't that cute? So I thought that was cute. Anyhow, everybody's doing well at the zoo. Continue engaging in there. Get your tickets for the Asian Lantern Festival. Check out some of the educational resources available. If you have little ones at home, there is a booklet like this that's at the zoo, but you can also find it online, and it's from early childhood all the way up into their teen years of all the fabulous things that we can do at the zoo. So that is my report for this evening. Thank you.
All right, Member Kraus?
Yes, thank you. I don't remember if I reported on the Business Advisory Board at our last meeting. I'm not sure we did comments, but we had Alice Hope do a presentation with Joe Gallagher. I attended the Holocaust reception. A fabulous photojournalist, John Noltner, did a collection, including with our superintendent, and it's titled A Piece of My Mind, and it was an exhibit at the JCC. Fabulous presentation, and understanding that most of us all want peace in the world and how we can contribute to that. So we all attended the swearing-in ceremony at Micro Vito, which was, I'm sorry if I took that from you, Amy. Amy got to swear in was he the mayor?
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
I think, of Micro Vito, so that was really fun. Superintendent and I had our first school visit at Eastbrook Elementary, and that was a fabulous welcome environment, and lots of hugs going around, and the kids were engaged. The teachers were happy to share all the good things that were going on, and I'll save the rest for other board members. Thank you.
Member Almond?
Thank you. Many of us went to the Private Business Association, and the panel discussion was on the cost to healthcare and some of the whys. And some of the whys were very interesting, like talking about medication being the same price for the distributors, but then the distributors, doing whatever they needed to make whatever profit they determined. Some, if not all of us, went to hear Dr. Samir Hinduja, Lake Cal graduate, who spoke about youth and social media. He went to all of our middle schools. It was a very honest, engaging conversation. The students were very attentive. I was very proud of them. Then this afternoon, we had a work session with the Foundation for Seminole County Public Schools. So thank you to Jean Van Smith, who's the executive director, and Tara Christensen, the board chair, for the presentation. And we have I serve currently on that board. And we have a retreat at the end of this month where they'll discuss the plans for supporting our schools this coming year. And that ends my report.
So, Member Calderon.
We had our annual Crooms Business Advisory Council kickoff meeting where we're recruiting new members, so if anybody's interested in joining, excited to have you. I wanted to thank Nancy Acevedo for receiving the key to the city of Longwood. It was wonderful to share in her celebration. As you know, she works with the Sheriff's Department, but is very involved with our schools as well, serves on our committees, and a great supporter. Seminole County Regional Chamber, the Issues Committee, our issues this month that we were talking about is affordable housing, and we're trying to hit it at every way, knowing how the rents and mortgages are going up, and we have so many community servants, whether they be teachers or firefighters and police officers, and we need to work as a community to figure out how we can support each other. I wanted to thank Minnie Cordona for organizing our annual foreign exchange students meeting. We always learn so much from listening to them and their perspective. It's almost like a mystery shopper that businesses pay for. It's great to see students from other countries to look at our schools through a different set of lenses and give feedback, and they're so open and honest and grateful to be here, and I want to thank everybody who works in that program. Just wanted to let everybody know again, I'm serving on the Education Day for Leadership Seminole. If you want to mark your calendars, it will occur this year on December 2nd. We'll be kicking off again, as usual, at Seminole State College in the Sanford Lake Mary campus with our CEOs, Rita Beeman speaking, and the president of UCF and the president, December 2nd. It's a Friday. And then again, to reiterate what Ms. Allman said about Samir speaking at the middle schools, it was very enlightening for me. I'm past my middle school years, and I learned something. So I don't know if Ms. Faison might want to consider having a session either with the people with the Sheriff's Department or Samir coming in, almost having parent night, because I think it's really important for parents to understand everything that's out there and best practices, because I think families have to be involved in this entire social media issue as well. The school visits have been going great. Today was Goldsboro. I love seeing Miss Beeman, having the kids come up and hug her and not knowing who we are when we walk in, but I think our kiddos just miss having other adults in the rooms and how much they value having us all there. So, and a shout out to Captain Fortenberry and your entire team who presented this month at Central Florida Public School Boards Coalition meeting. It really reinforced to me how educated we as a team are, because there were other board members from other districts that were asking a lot of questions of our team. So apparently either their districts don't operate the way we do, or their boards aren't as well informed that we stay, thanks to the collaboration with the Sheriff's Office and Superintendent Beeman, making sure that we always know about the safety and security issues for us. So thank you, team. We appreciate it. And that concludes my report.
Awesome, thank you. Yesterday, Superintendent and I attended the annual Kids House update board meeting. It was nice for them to all be back in person, and we've executed the ILA that we approved at the previous board meeting. Sheriff Lima just recognized us for, being the first set of eyes, which result in some of their cases, and how important we are and our staff are. And it kind of prompted a question to me that very timely. I actually had a meeting with Amy Elwood yesterday and wanted to make sure that we are providing support to those teachers who have to report, to make sure that they're getting the mental health support that they need if it gets to a situation. And it was very comforting to hear that we do provide that support to our teachers and our staff in those kinds of situations. I mentioned my meeting with Amy. Wanted to give an update on the amount of homeless students that have been identified within our school district right now. Is 953 students. The number that I quoted last time, the 1,900, was at the end of last school year. So this is right now 953. So that's through the FIN department. It's a really good way to help support the foundation, because the foundation supports the FIN department to help get these students the resources that they need. Last week, superintendent and staff responded to the FSBA request for our legislative input on their priorities. So Jill, if you would please forward that to everybody so that they have a copy of what was submitted on behalf of the school district. It's in my inbox, I think. I'll forward it to you. I had a meeting with Chairman Delari from the BOCC a couple weeks ago, and we committed to start meeting on a regular basis. It kind of didn't because of his father's health issues, but one of the takeaways is we talked about the request and the need to have a joint work session, and he asked for input on topics. So maybe at the next open workshop open discussion workshop. You guys can bring items that we can discuss about what we would like to have a discussion with at that meeting. And I realize 2 of you most likely won't be here, but I think the 3 of us would value your input to make sure that we're not missing, because I think maybe we've only had one, Christine, you and I have only had one joint work session with them, and you guys have had more, and so want to make sure that we're not missing what we might be missing. And then I also have requested at the next workshop to have a presentation on the update on the ILA. There has been some recent updates from the Winter Springs Commission. They have, I think there's a big misunderstanding on their part of what the current ILA and the proposed ILA is, and so I've asked our staff to come present to us at the workshop and then at that board meeting that night, so that we can have a discussion about some of the misinformation that's out there. So I wanted you guys to be prepared for that at the next meeting. That's all for my report, and if there's nothing else, then this meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.